Good morning. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of Board of Fire Commissioners. Date is August 16th, and the time is about 9 o'clock in the morning. Roll call.
Let the record reflect Commissioners Ibarra, Ninberg, Hara, Woods Gray are present, and we have a quorum. Madam President.
Thank you. Flag salute, moment of silence. So we begin with Commissioner comments.
Well, I guess I'll go then. So I dropped by fire drill tower 40 on Sunday for the girls camp. Actually, apropos of our agenda, which includes gender equity, and then likewise, yesterday I had the opportunity to visit our nurse practitioner response unit at Station 15. What I learned actually was that when I was in 64, and I visited them there at that time too, they were a lot busier than they are currently at 15. They're seeing upwards of 15, 16 patients at 64, and then now that they're at 15, they're seeing something on the order of 4 to 6 patients a day, and they're only on a 410 schedule currently, and hopefully that will ultimately be expanded. Since Cedars-Sinai has funded one additional unit, and the end of this month, I'm actually going to join the Kaiser Permanente meeting, and I'm going to actually recommend that Kaiser, if Cedars-Sinai could fund one unit, why can't Kaiser fund at least 2 or 3 additional units?
So this weekend, I just want to talk about the girls' camp. It was, I'm going to try not to be emotional, but it was one of the most inspiring weekends I've ever been a part of and got to witness. And seeing these young girls who came in, didn't know that they could do the job. One girl said, I was like, oh, so who came here in this group? I was like, who here wanted to be a firefighter when they got here? 2 girls raised their hand out of like 8. And I was like, oh, that's good, And another girl, I said, so what about you guys? What do you think? And one girl was saying, she's like, I never considered it. It's really cool. I don't know if this is what I'm going to do, but I do know I can do this job. And that was tremendous, because culturally we don't support women. This is a very gendered job, as we'll see in the gender equity report. But it is, we know it, and society doesn't see women as firefighters, and it's really great that this, and I want to thank you, Chief, for your support. This is huge, and really huge thanks to Chief Alicia Welch for putting this on and leading the charge and doing it in a very short period of time. It was amazing, and there were we had a lot of different departments from all over the country. Here we had Seattle, firefighters from Seattle there that were helping and volunteering. San Diego, we had Burbank. I'm sure we'll hear more about it, but it was tremendous. So I want to thank you all, and I want to thank this department for their tremendous support. Thank you.
I want to actually add, it was really hot the day that I went there, but the mister that they had was really cool. They had a fire hose, showering the girls, and it was amazing.
Okay.
Oh, I do want to say also, Chelsea Clinton shared the CBS story. So there was tremendous news that came out, and Chelsea Clinton tweeted and shared it on Facebook. So it got a lot of traction. It was pretty great.
Okay.
It did.
That's it. Okay, moving on to reports of the fire chief.
Thank you, Madam President. August 9th, we had an all-chiefs meeting. I think that's about the 5th one I've had since I've been in this position. Very well received. We talked about current events, operational procedures. We spent a lot of time talking about our fire psychologists. We need to really do a lot to improve the department in that area. PTSD, suicide prevention, things of that nature were discussed for over 2 hours, and we'll be moving forward with ways to enhance the fire psychologist capability. And we intend on putting some of that into our next budget request, as well as working with labor and working with other fire departments throughout the region. On August 12th, I took a tour of the Port of Los Angeles, a helicopter tour with the general manager, Gene Soroka, and we were discussing the possibility of a ship trainer project, and we were identifying property in the port that would be suitable for that project. Very supportive. We had the Port Police with us as well. We're looking at a collaboration between the Port Police, LAPD, us, and the port, trying to establish a maritime training facility in our port. Right now we go to College Station in Texas and go to Texas A&M, and the logistics of that are more expensive than the tuition. So we want to do that here. We want our people to be the teachers, to develop their expertise in each of those disciplines, and we think it has amazing potential. And then also on August 13th, I did also attend the girls' camp. It's exactly what you said. It was an amazing opportunity, and it really solidified the fact that multiple fire departments are looking for new ways to expose young women to become firefighters. And we had multiple news channels there. As you stated, Chelsea Clinton did tweet it out yesterday morning, and we tweeted back, thank you, about 10 minutes after. So our social media processes within our department are very strong. I also let the mayor know what we did yesterday, and they're very supportive of what we're trying to do. There are women who can do this job, and they need to know that if they have the skill set, we have jobs for them. So I think it's a testament to the effort of Chief Welch and her staff. They're doing amazing things. You'll hear more about that later in her presentation. Following that, I went to the Stentorians fundraiser barbecue. It was their first one. They blocked the street. They had multiple booths. They had great food, entertainment, museum tours. I think that's going to be an annual event. I think it went off very well, and we were happy to support it. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Moving on to verbal report by the department on significant incidents, August 3rd to August 16th.
Good morning, Madam President, Commissioners, Chief Terrazas, staff. My name is Philip Flegel, Deputy Chief Operations Central Bureau. I'd like to share with you 2 incidents that occurred over the last week. Beginning with Wednesday, August 10th, LAFD companies were dispatched to a reported structure fire at 1244 South Bonnie Brae Street. First units on scene reported a large 3-story craftsman home with heavy smoke showing from the attic. Multiple civilians were self-rescuing via windows and doors when companies first got on scene. Additional companies were requested, and the fire spread to a neighboring craftsman exposure and also a small apartment house to the rear. Firefighters made an aggressive attack to ventilate the structure and the roof, and also made a coordinated interior attack as well, try to put the attic fire out. A major emergency assignment was needed to enable to knock this fire down within an hour and 10 minutes. There was heavy damage to both of the fire buildings. 2 dogs were rescued alive from the buildings, but sadly one of them passed away. Fortunately, there were no civilian or firefighter injuries as well, which is a good thing. After the fire, there were 41 residents that were displaced from all the adjacent occupancies. So what we were able to do was temporarily house those people at Fire Station 13 until Red Cross could care for them 6 hours later. So that worked out to be pretty beneficial for them. If you did manage to see that on TV, that was a pretty horrendous fire that we have, and I think most cities and most municipalities would probably just sat back and watch that burn and lose all the materials that are inside of those houses. But the aggressive efforts and the risk safety values that were put in place by our Los Angeles Fire Department proved to save most of those people's belongings on the inside. Though, although waterlogged, they were able to save a lot of their belongings on the inside. Secondly, we had a interesting rescue on Thursday, August 11th in the downtown area at 825 South Hill. Paramedics were summoned to respond to an unconscious man that was inside of one of those cranes you see around Los Angeles that are putting up all the new skyscrapers, 275 feet up in the air. I guess he sustained a head injury the night before, went to work, and then felt dizzy while he was up there. So in order to safely extricate him and get him to an area hospital, we had to do a hoist rescue from one of our helicopters. And again, it was quite a newsworthy event to see, and nothing that we don't normally do in the Los Angeles Fire Department with our cliff rescues. But this was different because it was in the middle of the city and was off a crane. So we put safety issues in place with our USAR teams and made sure it was safe to do. And it happened, and we got that person in the hospital, and he's doing relatively well right now. Lastly, I just wanted to make sure that we're all aware of our Type 3 strike team that we have sent out to the Sabrinus Fire up north. They've been up there for 23 days now. Looking like they're coming home more likely on Friday, but we won't know about that until Friday itself. But they've been up there doing some tremendous work with our Cal OES Type 3 fire engines that we just got this year. And they've been doing a great job. They're actually on the front page of the Monterey Herald newspaper this morning. It was LA City on the back of their the back shot, and in this fire up in Northern California. So pretty good boost to the guys up there and the people down here, and they're doing some great work. And currently we have 15 overhead people right now deployed all around the state of California as well, helping out with all the wildfires going on. So that's it. Are there any questions at all? Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Verbal report by the medical director for the same time period.
Good morning, everyone. Dr. Mark Exty, Medical Director. Significant EMS report since the last meeting. Thursday, August 11th, report of multiple pedestrians struck by an automobile. First on scene units, this is in 11's first in, found 4 individuals struck by a pickup truck that apparently jumped the curb and drove through MacArthur Park. An MCI operation was set up, and a total of 5 patients, 4 victims and the driver were transported, 2 of whom were in critical condition, all expected to survive. On Friday, August 12th, in 77's first in, there was a very violent, high-speed head-on collision in La Tuna Canyon, just south of the 210 freeway, with multiple patients need to be extricated in 2 different vehicles about 100 yards apart. It's a very challenging extrication. One patient requiring a very extended operation to be extricated. There were a total of 4 critical patients, 2 delayed, 1 AMA, and sadly 2 deceased on scene. On Saturday, August 13th, 11 p.m., 66's first in was a drive-by shooting with 4 victims, 3 of whom were critical, 1 delayed, also all of whom expected to survive. And on Sunday, August 7th, here in the downtown area, in 10's first in, it was a immediate dispatch for reported unconscious. The dispatcher immediately recognized the victim was not breathing normally, was unresponsive, gave directions for dispatcher instructed CPR. Bystanders started performing CPR, and resources from Fire Station 10 arrived on scene, successfully defibrillated this young man, and this 30-year-old gentleman, 30, got pulses restored in the field and was transported to Good Samaritan Hospitals, the nearest STEMI receiving center, and he was starting to take breaths on his own upon arrival to the hospital. So a great save in a young gentleman. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good, thank you.
So moving on to presentations.
Start with the video.
Are you guys ready to break some stuff? Yes.
Good morning, Madam President, Commissioners, Sandy, Julie, Chief Terrazas. I'm Battalion Chief Alicia Welch, and I'm from the Firefighter Recruitment Section, and I'm super lucky to be a member of the Los Angeles Fire Department. My voice always does this when I come in front of this thing. Anyhow, welcome to the families of our families and friends of our members that are being recognized today. I got a lot of credit earlier for this camp, and this camp happened because we have a lot of really great members on our department who volunteer their time. Men and women every summer go to burn camps and little girls camps and all kinds of camps. And, you know, I grew up as a camp counselor. That was my previous profession before I was made aware I could be a firefighter. But so I'd heard about Camp Blaze, which is a women's camp or girls' camp that was founded by several female firefighters from San Francisco and Seattle Fire Department. It was founded about 1999. And this camp was, at the time, it was invented so that we could make young girls aware that there are jobs for them in the fire and EMS profession. And it was started also by San Diego Fire Department. And the gals in San Diego had trouble getting some momentum and keeping the momentum, so these women from San Francisco and Seattle and other fire departments in Washington developed a nonprofit, and they started Camp Blaze. And so when I took over the firefighter recruitment section last summer, I knew that I had to go see that camp. And I thought it was going to be easy, like the camps that I used to lead as a young person going through high school and college. But boy, was I wrong. So the mothers and the fathers in the room will understand that when you go to camp with kids for a week, a stayover camp, and you have 24 girls, and you're responsible for feeding, you know, bathing, camp all day long for 10 hours, exercise, fire-related activities. It's a lot of work. And when I was there, I was very proud of the the women behind me. So for 12 years, Captain Larson has been going to this camp. 12 years, every other summer, dedicating more than a week and a half as a crew leader. This is one of our bad captains, and you know the word I'm leaving out, but this is a serious fire captain that's dedicated over 6 or 12 years to this camp, being a camp counselor, teaching these girls how to do all the skills that I know how to do, and all these men and women behind me. Monica Hall, Captain 2 Monica Hall, assigned to Drill Tower 40, and Chris Larson assigned to Drill Tower 81. Monica's been going for 10 years, so she's been there as an instructor for more than 5 camps. Fire paramedic Jennifer Wilcox has been to camp twice, given up 4 years of her time to work at this camp, and firefighter, soon-to-be firefighter paramedic Tanya Crabb has spent a summer at the camp also. And I think the chief can attest, and commissioners can attest to the feeling when you leave that you really did something important. And that's probably why these ladies have been going summer after summer. And I get like I'm getting now when I watched a young girl named Lopez climb the aerial ladder after being afraid the whole week. She mustered up the courage and told her leader that she was ready and she wanted to climb the aerial. And the whole yard, with the more than 70 volunteers and 24 campers, and everybody was there, the whole yard stopped and they started chanting, "Lopez, Lopez, Lopez." Why, that little girl climbed that ladder and she made it all the way to the top. And it wasn't a fast climb, but it was a climb. And by the end of that, you saw her standing up a little more straight and walking around with her head held up high. And that's what these camps do. So whatever success we had this weekend, you know, I tend to get a little bit of the credit. The reason our camp went so well is because I went with the leadership of Chief Terrazas and Chief Rideout and Chief Hissong. I got to go and watch and observe for a week. And we brought that back. We brought that expertise back. And I think what's important for my peers and supervisors behind me to know is, aside from the recruiting piece, aside from recruiting young women and letting them know that they have an opportunity, there's a mentoring piece that goes on between the women, and a professional development and a networking that goes on. Because we get to go there and we get to work in positions. Captain Hall and Firefighter Wilcox and Crabb and Captain Larson, they were all teaching. They were instructors, but there's a whole nother command structure that the other staff are working in an incident commander role, and a plans role, and a logistics role. And at our camp this weekend, Captain Larson was incident commander, and Captain, soon-to-be Battalion Chief Kepner, was in the incident command role. So these camps do much more than just recruiting. They're exactly in alignment with Goal 8 of the strategic plan, and the development, the recruitment, and retention. The retention of women, not just to get them on, but to foster their growth throughout their careers. So just an example in this camp, one camp this year in 2016, Camp Blaze, there were 90 volunteers. Many of us stayed there a week, some just floated in and out. But of those volunteers and staff that came to work, 5 of them they were former campers. 5 became professional firefighters. 5 became volunteer firefighters. 1 became a nurse. 1 is a medical assistant. And 1's currently in a fire academy. So over these 15 years of this camp going on, that's the kind of production. And so that's what we hope to do here for you. And that's why it's critical that we invited the fire departments in the local area, not just local area, but there were fire departments, firefighters from San Diego and Oakland and Washington and Seattle and Tacoma and Sonoma, and if I'm missing any, I'm sure they'll tell me later. But now we're all connected. And the challenge is now you go home in Burbank and Alhambra, and you go home and you have a camp, and we'll come and support you. So I'm very proud and I'm very pleased to make this presentation to our women leaders behind me who brought this camp to us, because we wouldn't have done it without them. So, Firefighter Tanya Crabb, please come up. Firefighter Paramedic Jennifer Wilcox, please come up. Sir, did you want to say something? Where'd he go? Captain Hall, Captain Larson.
Thank you.
Want to say something? Captain Hall, Captain Larson, I think I got him.
I'd like to echo some of Chief Welch's comments. I like to say that excellence occurs when an individual recognizes an opportunity. And this camp, I think, awakened a lot of young women that they have an opportunity as well. And if you remember way back when we were airing our PSA, and it will air again on Channel 7, of a female firefighter, when we did our first Firefighter Expo at Drill Tower 81, a little girl, probably about 8 years old, with her mother, came up to us and said that the first time she saw it, she was crying. And she ran to her mom. And her mom asked her, "Why are you crying?" And she said, "I can become what I want to be now. I want to be a firefighter. And I can do it because there's a lady on TV who's doing it." So I think what Chief Welch has said is spot on. And I think we've tapped into the importance of the mentorship piece, the collaboration with other fire departments throughout the region, multiple states on the West Coast, and the partnership, the sisterhood, if you will, of all the women firefighters that participated in this event. And they're going to go as far as we support them, and we will continue to support them until we can get some future firefighters. And I know that the majority of those young people will not be firefighters, but they're going to be better citizens. They're going to have role models, and I'm hopeful we'll get our fair share. I also have to note today is the first day of the kids going back to LA Unified School District, the first day after summer. Today is also the first day that our Wilson Fire Magnet and our Banning High School Firefighter Magnet School are in operation. So things are taking off, and it's due to the leadership of Chief Welch and her amazing staff, and these women here beside me. Cannot be done without them actually making it happen. So congratulations, we're very proud of you.
You want to come in? We need to get our support staff here. You guys want to be in the front? They're kind of tall.
Madam President, I think this is such an appropriate thing for us today because on Friday we celebrate on the 26th.
Yes.
We will be celebrating Women's Equality Day, and this is really a great day for us to do this and to recognize the women who were recognized are the ones who I've always seen doing many things in this department. So I really congratulate them on the work that they do all the time, everywhere.
Thank you. And congratulations to everybody. Okay, so moving on to the consent agenda items. I'm going to request that somebody move to have 5E from the regular agenda items be included, and then have 4D be excluded from the consent agenda items and continued to next week. So 4D, which is the report by the department on the restatement and second amendment of the agreement regarding the FISO Control, Inc.
Mm-hmm.
That one be taken off consent
Okay.
and then be continued to our next meeting.
Okay.
So that's at the request of Commissioner Glazier. And then included in the consent agenda items be 5E, which is the report by the department on the agreement with Gartner, Inc. So that be included unless somebody wants to hear it.
5E.
Yeah.
I only have a concern because I have had many comments from the community about people who call them about the bills for paramedic services.
Okay, so
and
that's
about E. I have comments to make about that.
Oh, so is that 5E or is that 4?
I'm sorry, 4E.
4E. So you want to take that off the
Off of
consent?
consent calendar.
Okay, so we'll take that off consent.
E and I.
4E and 4I. Okay, so take those off. So, okay, so this is what we have now for consent agenda. We have 4A, 4B, 4C, 4F, 4G, and 5E are on the consent agenda item. Did I skip 4H?
Yeah.
Okay, so 4H. Let me do that again. So consent agenda items include 4A, 4B, 4C, 4F, 4G, 4H, and then 5E. Those are consent agenda items. Off consent is 4E and 4I. Okay? Is everybody?
You good? Okay, I so move.
So can I get all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, good. So then we move on to the regular agenda items. And we'll start with 5A, and then I'll take 4E and 4I later. Or should I
But I
take them
just
first?
do them now. I just have a comment
Sure.
to make about
Okay,
that.
so why don't we do 4E first?
Okay, and 4E, I've had many
Well,
citizens-
actually, so do we have anybody from the department who's going to do a presentation on 4E? Just quickly. I know we took it off consent, though.
Morning, Commissioners, Fire Chief, City Attorney. My name is Bill Jones. I'm a Senior Management Analyst. My assignment is ASB. I oversee contracts and grants for the Fire Department. Before you today is item 4E. It is a restatement and First Amendment to the contract between Los Angeles Fire Department and Harris & Harris for the collection of services to collect payments for our EMS billing.
Okay.
This contract is up for renewal. One of the things about this contract is we mirror what the Office of Finance does, but we have a degree of separation due to the HIPAA clauses that we are required to maintain. Office of Finance will not be allowed to have access to our patient data. So we have a one-off contract that maintains the collection activities just for our EMS billing.
Okay.
This contract is to, again, mirror the Office of Finance. They've extended their contract for 1 year. Likewise, we are extending the contract with Harris & Harris for 1 year.
Okay.
Is this a company that the city uses for other collections?
It does. The Office of Finance this is one of many companies the Office of Finance uses for collection efforts throughout the city.
Okay. My concern is that I've had citizens contact me about the collection of different funds that were related to the EMS process. And their concern was, why are people calling me from Chicago? Well, I had said, I don't know anything about it, but I guess when we did this contract before, I wasn't on the commission, but I have heard about these companies.
Right.
And so I'm wondering why we have to use a company from Chicago who, because I'm sure there must be other companies in California that do bill collections who could do this project. And so I would like to somehow have the city and the department look into the fact that there must be agencies in the state of California, which is also one of the things that the city, there's an ordinance that's been passed in the city that says that we would try to use people locally or statewide. And because I have had concerns about that, and I see it here, I wanted to note that. And also, so that was my concern with that. And I'm finding that many of the times we use the same people that the other departments use. So maybe the city council is the one that needs to be tapped on this issue because they also are approving it. And so...
That is correct, Commissioner. I can tell you that a few years back, the Office of Finance did a nationwide search for collection agencies. With regards to that RFP, the fire department did ask the Office of Finance to include firms that were HIPAA compliant, meaning that their systems were secure in such a way that it was tamper-proof from the outside, that nobody could access patient data. The firms that responded, I'm going to say that there were probably about no less than six firms that did respond and were ultimately awarded a contract. However, in the particular case, Harris & Harris was the only one that showed that it was HIPAA compliant at the time. And that is why the fire department opted for, of those multiple agencies or firms, to go with Harris & Harris. And you're correct, their headquarters is located in Chicago, and most of their calls do originate from that location.
And I know some of the companies that we use, that the other departments use, have offices in California or in Los Angeles, even though maybe their headquarters may be somewhere else, but they do have an office set up here in the city or somewhere close by. So I'm very concerned about that because of the, number one, the high unemployment rates in Los Angeles and trying to use small businesses in our own state and city. is important to me. And so I just wanted to point that out. And I will go on to, I will follow up with City Council.
So are the other contracting parties that the rest of the city uses are not HIPAA compliant?
They may be. We're not certain. I don't know at this time. HIPAA compliance is one of those things that takes time over time. Their computer systems have to be secure. The process by which they operate has to be secure. We could go back and look at that issue with the Office of Finance to see which of the other firms that are available. The Office of Finance did renew a number of agreements with these firms, but we also know that there are other issues regarding the collection efforts and what is allowed. We're in discussion with the Office of Finance right now with regards to such things as reporting of credit agencies, of EMS accounts or healthcare accounts, and so we are looking at a number of alternatives, and we are in discussion with Harris & Harris on those issues.
Okay.
We could certainly report back to this Bureau or to this Commission on what our findings are and what the status of each of the firms are and the direction. I know that for the Office of Finance there is one renewal option remaining, which would take it for an additional year, meaning that it would expire in May of 2018. I would expect that there's an RFP conducted prior to that time, at which time we could specifically look at the firms in Los Angeles.
And that's the other thing it seems we keep doing is we kind of roll over contracts as opposed to putting out new requests for proposals. And I know that in time, new companies are developing and in the state and in the city, but we're not offering them an opportunity if we don't actually ask for a new proposal.
Understood, Commissioner.
Thank you. Should we vote on this?
I move the report. I move. Which one is that?
It's 4E.
4E. I move 4E.
Okay.
That was my only question.
Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And should we do 4I?
Yeah, because the concern was the same with me as without you going through all that. Is that this company is in Florida.
Okay.
And I realized that I believe this one we've had for quite a while. As I read it, it's like a very long arrangement that we have with them. But again, it comes from the community people always complaining about us using agencies. And these agencies actually literally hound people in the community because that's how I hear about them. So it's a business that's not in our area that I somehow feel like we should be able to find a company in the area, somewhere in California or if not in Los Angeles, that would do this service. And then the thing of the way the program is set up so that we have like rolling, they have a 3-year renewal and then it's going on for like 20 more years or something?
That is correct, Commissioner, and forgive me, I have an obligation to restate my name with this item. This is item 4I. My name is Bill Jones. I am a senior management analyst too. My assignment is ASB, Contracts and Grants. With regard to this firm, this was a situation where there are firms that do billings. However, medical billings is one of those areas where it is very unique. It's very dynamic with the changes in federal law with regards to HIPAA and HITECH Act. This particular contract, when we put it out to bid, it was in 2007. It was a 3-year process to get to the point where we did award an agreement. The investment at the time and the ability for the fire department and the city to change over a billing system of this type is incredibly laborious and very lengthy. For example, the typical timeline for a collection of an account is up to 9 months for this activity. So you have to allow time for those accounts to age over time. And any account that is delivered to that agency and then to be brought back and given to another agency is very complex. At the time, we did agree that we would look at a 6-year initial term with 6 3-year renewal options. This contract here does represent the first of those 3-year renewal options. At any point during that term, those renewal options are not a guarantee to these firms, and the department can opt to go out to RFP. But in this particular case, we have established a very good working relationship. The firm that we're talking about is headquartered in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. However, they do have offices in Tennessee, Colorado, as well as the San Francisco Bay Area. So they are national across the board. I guess I would say that, you know, we could certainly look at and explore options to go out to RFP. It will be lengthy. It's something that will not occur in the typical RFP timeframe of 6 to 12 months. I would expect that it would probably be much longer time period, possibly 18 to 24 months to put out to RFP, go through, evaluate systems, and then also have discussions in terms of what it would take to transition accounts from one firm to another. So I hope that answers your questions. If you have any other, please.
Yes, it does. I did not notice on the online services where I did research that they had any other offices, but I'm glad you informed me that they have one in San Francisco. But I would like to know if there are other companies that are available, because 6 3-year terms is quite a long time not to go back to the drawing board and look to see if there are other people available.
I'm certain the community has grown in some ways and contracted in others, and we could certainly do some research and see what it would look like in terms of the number of medical billing firms that are out there.
Okay, thank you. I'd appreciate it. Okay. Madam President, I move 4I.
I'll second.
Aye. Aye.
So just an announcement about 4G, which just went on consent calendar. It's to receive and file, but it was missing a page. The copy that was, is it the copy that was posted or just the copy that was given to the commissioners?
It wasn't realized till this morning, so it was already posted.
Okay. So it was posted?
Yes.
Okay, so it was missing a page.
So this has.
And if anybody from the public wants a copy of the corrected version, they can get it from
Yes.
Commission Secretary.
I see. Okay, that's good.
Okay, thanks. So, moving on to regular agenda items, 5A is report by the Department on the Gender Equity Action Report.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Madam President, board members, council, Chief Castro, Sandy. My name is Nikki Berdowie. I'm a battalion chief. I currently am serving as the executive officer to the Chief Deputy of Administrative Operations. And I'm here today to present to you the Gender Equity Action Report that was submitted to the Mayor's Office in March of 2016. The department's report is a result of Mayor's Executive Directive number 11 entitled Gender Equity in City Operations. And that was issued almost a year ago to the day. As a result of Mayor's Directive number 11, each department had designated a gender equity liaison to serve on a work group that the mayor has established. And that consists of myself as well as 39 other city department liaisons. Going back a little bit further, prior to Executive Directive number 11, the city adopted an ordinance which provides for the local implementation of the United Nations Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, which is a mouthful. So it's also known as CEDAW. CEDAW is an international treaty for gender equity, and it has not been ratified by the United States. So several U.S. cities, including LA City, began to implement it on a local level. And the overall goal is to build momentum for national enactment. Under Mayor Garcetti, LA is now doing what global CEDAW advocates call breaking new ground in CEDAW implementation. Additionally, in March of 2015, Mount St. Mary's University released a 5-part report on the status of women and girls in Los Angeles. And the report focused on issues and trends that affect women and girls who work or reside in the city. It examined gender equity in 5 key areas. It looked at demographics, leadership, education and workforce development, public safety, and LA veterans. The report did confirm that women and girls within the city are measurably disadvantaged. Now, the goal of the mayor's gender equity work group is to collectively put together an implementation plan that provides answers to all of the questions raised within the comprehensive report on the status of women and girls in the city. To that end, every city department, including LAFD, conducted a gender analysis to determine what, if any, department practices or policies could be improved upon to increase gender equality and to promote equal opportunities for and the advancement of women and girls into leadership roles. So in doing our analysis, we conducted departmental and national research on women in the fire service, as well as best practices in fostering diversity and inclusion in the fire service. We reviewed prior audits and recommendations made to the LAFD dealing with creating greater gender equity. We also surveyed LAFD female firefighters to assess their views and feelings of the current state of the work environment. And we handled that survey through the LA Women in the Fire Service. And we also evaluated various programs offered by the department to support and encourage the development of women on the job, as well as girls and women off the job who reside in the city, which would be an example of the girls' camp that we just had. Overall, the Gender Equity Action Report provides an overview of where the department stands today in the areas of recruitment, work environment, and professional development. It contains goals, recommendations, and objectives to resolve gender inequities. Focuses on increasing the number of female firefighters on the job, creating a more cohesive and inclusive work environment, and motivating and encouraging female firefighters to promote and advance into leadership roles. I personally have been a member of the department for 22 years, and in that time, a lot has definitely changed for the better. But we still have a ways to go to change the culture of the fire service at large, not just for our department, but nationally, and go from tolerating women in the fire service to truly understanding and accepting that female firefighters have a place and a value within the fire service. When I first came on, just a few points, recruits and probationary members were treated like second-class citizens. Hazing, horseplay, as well as discrimination and harassment were commonplace and oftentimes considered to be a rite of passage. And women were not really seen in high-profile or high-visible assignments. The highest-ranking female on the job when I came on was a Captain 1. And at that time, there had never been a female BC, AC, or deputy chief. Today, you see fewer incidents of hazing and horseplay, as well as a decrease in discrimination and harassment complaints. We do have a professional and impartial disciplinary process and disciplinary guidelines that are followed. It obviously has some work to do, but it's a lot better than what we've had in the past. Mm-hmm. There's also more consistent human relations training provided by the department. And we have a leadership academy that's modeled after West Point's Leadership Academy, and it's open to everyone regardless of their rank and whether they're sworn or civilian. We're also seeing more women placed into higher profile and higher visibility assignments. We have females in the planning section. We've had 2 female professional standards commanders. We've had a female internal affairs section commander. We have a commander right now that's in charge of the firefighter recruitment section. And 2 of the members that were here that were honored, Captain Hall and Captain Larson, are drill masters at Drill Tower 81 and Drill Tower 40. We're also seeing more women in leadership positions. As I mentioned, when I came on, there was only 1 female Captain 1. At this time, we have 18 female captains, 7 females that are promoted to the rank of battalion chief, and our first female deputy chief headed our training and support bureau, and we'll soon see our second female deputy chief and the first ever female fire marshal for the LAFD in a few months. So there have definitely been improvements with my time on the job. However, what we have not seen is an increase in the total number of female firefighters. So we kind of hold around 90 to 100. I think the lowest we've ever had since I've been on the job was 86. And the most I've ever seen was 106, which was in 2006. We're also going to see there's 15 females that are in the drop program, so over the next 5 years, they're going to be leaving, and that doesn't include people that don't enter the drop that will, retire. We can't account for that. So currently today we have 94 females. 45% of those females have over 20 years on. So you can see that there's quite a few that will be retiring. 42% of the total have promoted out of the firefighter rank. And 24% of the total are captains or chief officers. So those are considered leadership positions. So overall, our number one goal obviously is to hire more female firefighters. And I know you're very familiar with our focused and targeted recruiting efforts. And Chief Welch is going to be providing another update today. As we move forward with the Gender Equity Action Report, we're looking at different types of human relations training, cultural sensitivity training, obviously developing the various youth programs to build that pipeline of boys and girls that live within the city that will one day be firefighters. And we're also looking at what they're doing within the recruitment section with the mentorship program to see if there's a way that we can move that into a formal mentorship or a professional development program for incumbent firefighters. The process now, when you're going to promote into a captain or a chief officer rank, it's very informal, and it's all about who you know. So the process, I guess, would be considered equal, but we're looking at ways the department can provide a little bit more structure as far as that. Since many of the goals revolve around training, the fire chief has determined the need to start a work group, and the work group is going to be headed by Chief Hissong, the in-service training commander. The work group will also contain key personnel from inside and outside of the department, as well as key stakeholder groups. The goal is to establish regular meetings and establish a structured and organized work plan and continue to reach greater gender equity in the LAFD. Prior to concluding my report, I just want to publicly thank a few members that assisted me with doing the research and writing the report, and that would be Battalion Chief Linda Sesser, right there if you could stand up, and also volunteer student worker Sarah Truby, who is a USC graduate student finishing up her master's degree in public health. And they did a lot of work and helped me out with the research and developing the plan, so I just want to publicly thank them for their service. Thank you guys, appreciate it.
Thank you.
So that concludes my report, unless you have any questions.
I don't have any questions, but that was a very thorough report. And I concur with everything you reported on because it's facts we know already. But thank you very much for that. And I'm glad to see that you continue to work on it.
Yes.
The report was really well done and very thorough.
It was. Yeah. Any other?
No.
I agree. I mean, it was. And what's really great about this report, too, is that you're already implementing everything that was in the report.
Yes.
So the work group is great. Do you guys have a initial date when you're going to be meeting?
No, we don't. We still have to set up a meeting to arrange an initial date for the work group and to determine the key members that will be a part of it.
Excellent, I think. And what do you need? Is there anything? What do you need to be successful? Because this is a tremendous amount of work. A lot of the goals that you have, a lot of the tracking, of the surveys.
I think the work group is going to be really helpful in that regard, and we're also researching other entities that could provide like an annual survey to our members to look at, their overall satisfaction with the work environment and just overall. So we're I guess New Zealand has an annual survey process that they do where they evaluate their members and their commitment to the job and their knowledge of their vision and mission to determine their overall satisfaction as well as their feelings about the work environment. So something like that we're trying to come up with. But the work group, I think, will be of great assistance to kind of getting that stuff established.
Excellent. And I would also like to request that following, I know you're meeting quarterly with the mayor's office
Yes.
for the gender equity
Yes.
liaisons. I'd like to get this agendized
Sure.
quarterly so that we can follow up after and you can keep track. I know that this is just interesting. At this weekend, I was talking to some people from San Diego, and they're very, they're touted as some of the best one of the best departments for females and, you know, and work environment. However, their chief called Chief Welch and said, you know, we kind of took our eye off the ball and we're backsliding. And same in Seattle. And so this, keeping the numbers up, keeping the culture strong and, you know, it's embracing diversity, not just tolerating it, just embracing diversity, requires sustained focus and continued sustained focus. So I know this department has been, you know, is committed to it, and I think that you coming here quarterly will help. It's just, this took a long time to get here. It's going to take a long time, you know, to grow. So I appreciate all your work, and I want to thank Sarah Truby and Chief Sesser as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the great work.
Very good.
Move to receive and file.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
5B is a report by the department on the status and disposition of LAFD matters considered and referred to council committees and departments.
Commissioners, Chief Castro, good morning. My name is Jeremy Oberstein. I'm filling in for Chief Graham Everett. I'm here to report on the council committee and activity report for the period ranging from July 5th through August 3rd. During that period, the council considered 2 items and approved both of them. They also continued 2 items, which will be considered at a later date. Concurrently, the Public Safety Committee is considering 1 item right now, and the council is set to consider an item tomorrow that will be in your next report. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Oh, so what are those 2 matters?
1 item is concerning changes to the fire code, which are necessary because of the state changes to the fire code. Another has to do with the donation.
Oh, okay. Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. 5C's
Motion.
Oh, yes.
I move to a
Receive
motion
and file.
to receive and file.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
5C's report by the department on the continuation of vehicle condition scorecard and vehicle replacement guidelines.
Good morning, Madam President, Commission,
Morning.
Chief
Morning.
Castro, Ms. Radfish, Sandy. My name is Wade White. I'm Assistant Chief at Supply and Maintenance Division. And with me is Mark Clark, Equipment Superintendent, managing the fleet maintenance section. Just to back up a little bit, we put this report together, a scorecard to rate our fleet approximately 10 months ago. And we started the rating of the fleet in January when we began our preventative maintenance, our aerial ladder tests, our preventative maintenance on the rescue ambulances, and our test pit, or pump test, which happens annually. So we're about halfway through that whole process. It's going very well. We just engaged in a contract with Asset Works to go further into a technologically advanced vehicle maintenance system, and I'd like to have Mark Clark talk to you about that system and how this scorecard process is going to go into that new system.
Thank you, Chief. Good morning, Commissioners, Madam
Good morning.
President,
Morning.
Sandy, City Attorney, Chief Castro. As Chief White indicated, the condition assessment is underway. We finished all of our triples. We're halfway through the rescue ambulances, and we just started assessing the aerial ladder fleet. We're doing this in conjunction with regular scheduled vehicle touches. That is, it's preventive maintenance service or its annual or biannual smog test. And we're coming up with a score on the vehicles so that we can have a readily identifiable indicator of the overall condition of a vehicle or a group of vehicles or even the entire LAFD fleet. Our action plan involves counting the fleet, classifying the fleet, developing a survey schedule, inspecting the vehicles. That's the stage we're in right now. We still need to set specific replacement guidelines relevant to the score that we come up with. We do have a fleet replacement life cycle that we hold to, but we want to dovetail all these different assessment scores. Chief mentioned a new fleet management information system that we have now. It's called M5. It is a very robust system for capturing fleet-related data. And all of this data dovetails with our efforts to score the fleet. The system has 7 layers of reporting. Simple values can be reported. We can do queries, standard reports, ad hoc reports. It provides dashboards for different personnel in the department who are going to be interested in this information. It has the ability to produce performance metrics, but all of this data is what is necessary to actually score the fleet. And it will be utilized in this process. Now, M5 is currently being implemented in the Department of General Services fleet. Initially, the vendor was going to wait a year until GSD was up and running, but they've decided to implement LAFD's rollout kind of simultaneously. So we're actually going through the process of implementing and using the new M5 product. M5 will allow us to capture data that classifies all the different vehicle assets, helps us to identify vehicle availability and utilization. It also will allow us to associate different equipment that is connected to a vehicle. For instance, the gurneys on a rescue ambulance or the ground ladders on an aerial ladder truck. All of those assets as well have a life cycle that we would like to track and be able to score. But really important to this effort to score our fleet is a forecasting function that the system has. The forecasting function will allow us to forecast repairs that need to be done, but it will also allow us to produce reports that forecast the replacement of vehicles, either individual vehicles or groups of vehicles by year, make, model, function, type. So this functionality is going to be very helpful in finalizing our fleet assessment. And I would like to, we need to finish out the year of scoring our fleet and then provide additional feedback at a later date.
Now, some additional information which is with best-in-class fleets. We go with on our heavy apparatus, triples, trucks, and specialized apparatus with a 10-year replacement plan. We go with, on our ambulances, with a 6-year, and also our light vehicles. This year, thanks to the fire chief, yourself, ASB, we received a real healthy amount of money for MICLA funding to help us out in the replacement. I'm developing the MICLA budget for next year, and it's going to be very similar. If we continue this path, we're going to recover. So, do you have any questions?
Just a statement. I'm very pleased with this. I remember when you first came to tell us about this new plan, and this is really what it means to be a metric-driven department. Like, we really bring metrics to the basic of what we do, just evaluating our fleet. So just really pleased that this is getting started and that you're on your way with this.
Thank you.
So thanks for doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
5C's report by the department on the update of the LAFD recruitment.
Good morning again.
Good morning.
Chief Castro. So what I am presenting this morning is sort of our annual report, progress report on the LAFD recruitment plan that we set out last year. I'm going to just try to go through the high level stuff because, as you all know, we've been doing a lot. One of the, and where these goals come from, basically we wrote a LAFD, you gave that to me, thanks, LAFD recruitment plan, and there it is. We had a lot of goals lined out in there, and then also goal number 8 from Safer City from our strategic plan. And by the way, I'm Battalion Chief Alicia Welch from Firefighter Recruitment Section. So part of our global outreach and marketing that was lined out in our goals and our recruitment plan was the career expos. And many of you had been out and seen that. But as we look back at the data we've collected and the metrics, trying to see if we're hitting the mark, what we learned, what we accomplished this year was we surpassed our goal that we set to have one career expo per bureau. We actually had 5, and we had two career expos in Central Bureau. Of those 5 career expos, 3,042 people registered to come and learn firsthand from our firefighters and paramedics on what the job is about. Of those registrants, we probably had 55 to 60% actually show up, but we view that as 55 to 60% of highly interested, qualified candidates. We're not just out there fishing. We want people who are going to make the best firefighters possible. Another key area of our recruitment and marketing plan was social media. Now, in the past, prior to this plan, social media was kind of handled by the city personnel department, along with a million other things that they do over there. And so when I came to firefighter recruitment, we took over the social media. We hired a captain specifically to handle our social media, and I think many of you saw the result of that this weekend after the girls' camp. But basically, when we took it over last September, we had about 2,500 followers, and as of the end of June, we were at 7,412. So you can see a pretty significant spike in the folks that are following us and liking us and tracking us. And I'm very happy to say that we have a nice mix of ethnicities and genders that are following us on Facebook. Another significant goal that was set out last year in regards to social media was to have a good PSA, and this PSA that was created is actually Emmy Award nominated. So you can see the reach, and this is as of last month. I'm guessing we're probably at about 900,000 people are taking a look at that PSA, and something like 11 other countries. So we're not only changing the face of firefighter recruitment and diversity in our fire department, but we're reaching out to the world and showing that women and people of color can join the fire department. So to get down to the nuts and bolts of who we reached and what we did, there's, in your report that you have in front of you, there's several different charts and graphs. But as I mentioned in the past, we have 2 different ways to collect data on the people who we're reaching. And the one place that we reach them is when we're at a recruitment event, say the fitness expo at the convention center. Our recruiters are there, they're with electronic devices, and anybody who comes up to the table to engage with them, and if they're a serious candidate who's interested in being contacted by us again, they'll fill out an electronic form. And so over the year, from last June to July of this year, we've reached 2,153 candidates. And when you look at the charts and you see who we've been reaching, 43.9% Hispanic, 20.4% African American, 5.5% Asian, and 2.3% Filipino, and 0.8% American Indian, I think you see that our targeted recruiting is starting to work. You know, if those numbers were unbalanced and we saw a lot more blue and Caucasian candidates, then we really wouldn't be making a difference. But I think by the colors on that wheel and the fact that the population in Los Angeles is highest with Hispanic residents, then I think that you can see we're pretty much in alignment with who we're trying to reach. Now, one of the other areas, obviously, we're underrepresented with female firefighters, and so 24% of the people that we're reaching at the recruitment events that we go to, including military bases, colleges, sporting events, active lifestyle, 22.4% of them are women. So we're very hopeful that over these next 4 months that we have the testing process, that we're going to see higher percentage of women testing and applying, and also those people of color that we're reaching at those events. The next area that we reach candidates electronically, and we can kind of get a snapshot of who we're reaching and who's reaching us, is through our preparatory programs. So who's coming to CAP, the fitness program, who's coming to CPAT and practicing their CPAT skills, who's coming to oral interview and in the past and written, and our applicant orientation program on Wednesday nights. You can see here again, we've reached 2,720 candidates over this last year, and you're going to see, when you look at the chart, I can see the president is already looking, these numbers don't match up. When you see the 1,910 folks that we reached through our preparatory programs, part of last year we weren't reaching candidates digitally. For, I think, 3 or 4 months, we were still collecting that information on a handwritten sign-in sheet. So we had to add those handwritten sign-in sheets to the electronic data, and when you put those two together, we reached 2,700 people. And the ethnic backgrounds that we reached, 45% Hispanic, 3.4% Filipino, 5.3% Asian, and then 13.1% African American. And you see there's fairly significant amount, 5.4% of those folks don't want to claim what ethnicity they are. So my co-presenter here is going to speak to that a little bit in just a minute. And then in terms of folks that are coming to us for assistance and all the different programs we have, you can see there that 84% are men and 15.3% are women. So still significantly higher than the percentage of women that we have on the job. So we consider this moving in the right direction. Now, one of the key areas of the report that's in front of you is a comparison between the 2014 testing process and then the current testing process, the 2016, where we use a fire candidate assessment through an outside vendor, PSI. We're going to compare those tests to you to show you exactly where we're at in terms of our current candidate pool. And here to do that is my partner from the City Personnel Department, Assistant General Manager of the Public Safety and Recruitment Division, Aram Kamujian.
Good morning, everyone.
Good
morning.
I just wanted to give a very brief overview of the differences between the processes back from 2014 and and the current process. So back in 2014, anyone could apply for the firefighter examination as long as they had the minimum requirements, and then the testing process would start. So they would, after applying, have to take a multiple choice test, and that's where we saw the first lapse rate. This is where we first saw candidates dropping off from the process. So when we talk about 10,000 folks applying back in 2014, we often discount the fact that not that many of those folks made it through the process entirely, and I'll speak more about that in later slides. Currently, in the 2016 process, in order for somebody's application to be valid, they have to take the firefighter candidate assessment with the outside vendor as an eligibility requirement. So even though they can apply first or take the test first at this point, they have to do both in order to be qualified candidates once the process closes.
So can I ask you about this slide?
Yes.
So this slide on 2006, So this is the valid applicants?
So no, not yet. So the numbers are going to be different from one slide to another, and I will walk you through those. So in the first slide, we're looking at raw applicants. So the lists you're looking at have not been reconciled with the tests yet. So on the left side is the 2014 process, which has the 10,000 plus applicants. And on the right side is the 2016 process, which has about half that number. However, as you'll see later, the 10,000 number will not test, whereas much higher percentages of the current applicants are testing. We have just begun reconciling those numbers, and the slides you have before you predate the reconciliation, so these are raw numbers. So significant at this juncture is the increases in the number of underrepresented populations that have been applying in the 2016 process. And thanks to Chief Welch and her recruitment team and their relentless and disciplined efforts, every single underrepresented group has increased in percentage according to this chart, with most significant gains being made among women, a considerable 2.3% increase, which again, in compared to 100%, it may not seem as great, but within itself is a major improvement, and among African Americans, a 3.24% increase. When we look at the next slide, that's when we see the impact of the tests. So back in 2014, even though we had over 10,000 applicants, only 6,909 were invited to the test. That means those were the numbers that were reached through our stratified random sampling process. They did not necessarily take the test. These were the candidates who were invited to test. As opposed to currently, with FCA registrants, we have 5136 registrants who have not necessarily taken the test, but at least have registered to take it. So you can see the numbers already getting closer to one another. Here you see the percentage of women even higher than among the city applicants. However, if you look at the diverse populations, you see that some of the percentages drop off.
So these are just people who are requesting to sit for the exam?
So these are people who have registered, and this year the exam has a registration fee. So we consider this population to be a relatively committed population.
Okay, but this is where we see the drop-off from before.
Well, the drop-off is in how the statistics are reported. Unlike the city, PSI, the outside vendor, captures these statistics with a category called 2 or more races. So you can see on this slide that 9.38% of the candidates, which is a very significant number, is self-identifying as 2 or more races, and we believe that it's not really a drop-off, it's just being captured in another category. So that is our working hypothesis, which we will have more information on as the process moves along. Yes.
Does PSI have that data, like just from their past tests, as to what 2 or more races captures? Like from other departments?
As far as I know, they do not. However, in our when these candidates actually apply with the city, which they must do, we don't have that option. So we will capture them better, like we did in the first slide. And once we reconcile the test passers with the applicants, then we'll have a complete picture. It's just a little too early in the process.
Right.
So if we look at the final slide, that actually has the current candidates who have completed the FCA exam. And you see that already 4,009 candidates have taken that test. Back in 2014, ultimately, when all was said and done, of the 10,000 applicants, 4,032 actually took the test. So we are almost even with the 2014 process in terms of the number of test takers, and we've got 4 additional months to go.
Does this reflect those who got a passing score or just those who took it?
These are the testers. So for both slides, it would be a lower number still if we look at the those who passed.
And you don't
So
have that yet, right?
we don't have. I don't have actual raw numbers, but the test passage rate is at the 82 percentile.
Okay. Thank you.
So this will be a smaller number, the 4,009, but again, on the left side, the 2014 numbers are also of only test takers, not test passers. So we're doing our best to compare apples to apples, and as we get further information trickling in from PSI, we'll be happy to update these slides for you.
Okay.
Are there any additional questions I can answer? Thank you.
Thank you.
I think.
Did you have a question?
Well, I do have concerns. First, I have to say the women, it's up 68%, so that's pretty incredible. But the African American population, just for the last slide, is down pretty significantly. So
Well, it's down by 1%, or less than 1%. Am I wrong?
yeah, it's like, but it's
So-
about
What's this one?
15%.
Oh.
I mean, you know what I mean? Like this,
Yeah.
it's about 15%.
So
drop.
again, we attribute that drop off as a working hypothesis to the fact that
Oh, the two or
again,
more.
2 or more races. Correct. So
Good.
the determinative data is going to be when the application closes and we've reconciled all the test takers and applicants, and we're hoping that the way we capture our information as opposed to how PSI captures it will reconcile those numbers.
I think outside of that, it looks fantastic. I mean, it looks like it's going in the right direction. So I want to thank you so much. And thank you so much for your support.
Absolutely.
I mean, I know you're committed to this as well, so thank you.
Thank you.
So just a couple last points. You're asking great questions. These are questions that we've been asking ourselves since May, because we want to know that the work that we're doing, both as partners in this, is making a difference. And now that we've been doing it since May 15th, and I want you to know also that if you look at the top on the right-hand box, these dates are from February 22nd, so when you could first apply, to July 5th. This report that I wrote to you was for the period of this fiscal year. We have much more data now, and we're mid-August, or I don't even know what day of the week it is. But I think it's mid-August or something. So we have, what I know exactly is that we have 4 more months to go. And each month, if you look at the bottom of those boxes, each month we see where you see from 6/28/16, 119 test completers were addition. Mm-hmm. So every 2 weeks they compile this report, and we see 100 to 250 more applicants, more test takers, more registrants. So people are following us on social media, they're coming to our events, they're coming to our prep programs, and every day the numbers are climbing. So we're very confident that although the numbers aren't going to ever be where I want them to be, they're going to be far greater than what they were when we started this. So if there was a way that we could make this report a little bit easier to read, that would be it. Look at the date on the top of the box for the range that we're collecting that data, and then look at the numbers on the bottom of the box, and that tells you how often we can see the numbers of candidates increasing. And then we typically add together the 2 or more races and those that prefer not to state, and when you do that, we're almost at 15%. 15% of our candidate pool we can't classify in a category, and that's a lot of people. 15% of what we have here is a lot of people. So that concludes our report. If you have any questions other than the good questions you've already asked.
I just want to thank you so much for the tremendous work you're doing. I mean, when you look at the groups that you actually are getting to the AOP, that are coming to the expos, that you're capturing, it does reflect the city. I mean, and it's very, very impressive, and I want to thank you so much and thank the department,
Yeah.
So thank you.
So thanks a lot. You guys have done a lot of great work with this. The only suggestion that I would have is that to somehow try to make sure that the numbers that we keep for contacts that we're making sort of tracks the numbers that PSI has. So when we're talking about all the contacts that you make, we're not keeping track of people who are 2 or more races. So it looks like
they're different.
Right.
Yeah, so it looks like we make contacts with all these people, and then it keeps decreasing because when you compare it to how PSI does it, they just track people differently.
Right.
So if we can, if it's not too much trouble, it's fine. I like the way that we do it better than the way they do it, but it just makes it easier to compare apples to apples if we try to track it the same way.
And I think, is it Aram? They're following a federal.
Yeah, they're following more of the federal approach to these stats, and that's where we're having some of the struggle. For this year, like I said, further down in the process, because everyone who passes the test must apply to be considered, we will have full data for the city that will be easier for us to digest because we don't have the 2 or more races option.
Do you know when we can get the data on those that have passed the test?
So we have one batch of data available for a 7:15 cutoff. So we did our first stratified random sampling last week. So we have limited data as of that date, but I would not be able to tell you yet as to what's happened in the last month or so.
So just to be clear, you don't have 2 or more races when they apply to the city.
Correct.
And that is why? Because of federal regulation?
No, PSI does it its way because of the federal approach. So we just have our city designations. So ours do not have that option of 2 or more races.
It might be something that you consider for the future because of the changing demographics of the people of Los Angeles. And it's something that we have to acknowledge. And some people don't want to go one way or the other. They want to acknowledge both of their parents or whatever. And so they should have an option.
It's my understanding that that is the trend that the city itself will be following. It just has not been implemented yet.
Thank you.
Okay, good.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Motion?
Move to receive and file.
Okay, so that's 5D. Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5F, verbal report by the department on Central Bureau operations.
Good morning again. Bill Flegel, Deputy Chief Operations Central Bureau, Madam Commissioner, Commissioners,
Morning.
Chief Castro, staff. Today I'd like to bring you our Operations Central Bureau 2015 annual report as a verbal update. I just want to give you an idea how it's going to go. We'll have a brief 5-minute video montage of some accomplishments we've had over the past year or into 2015, and then hopefully about a 15-minute presentation. I'll explain some things that how we're meeting the strategic the plan that the fire chiefs implemented. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and turn over to the video montage, and I'll be talking. Okay, hopefully give you a little bit of idea what we've been going and doing over the past year or so, but I'll explain a little bit more of that stuff as we go on here. Okay, so to begin with, a lot of this stuff that we're going through the PowerPoint presentation is basically showing how we're going to implement some of the tactics and strategies that we're doing to meet or exceed the goals of the strategic plan and ultimately support the fire chief and his vision. So with any good plan, we always start off with some good objectives. And our objectives for the OCB is basically to go ahead and provide OCB members with the direction for actions that will shape and guide them to support the department's vision, mission, and core values. Also to provide effective leadership and strong management processes that will focus on continual monitoring and evaluation of OCB actions to meet the goals of the strategic plan. And finally, monitor, modify, and implement strategies to improve OCB operations over the next 3 to 5 years based on performance metrics. Okay, keep calm, we're all on one team. That's one thing that I got in my favor right now is the staff that I've been able to provided with and use on a daily basis in the OCB office. And it's not only my office, but it's also the other bureaus that are involved as well, the Central or South and West and Valley bureaus that help me out as well. But I just want to acknowledge some of the people that I have working with me to begin with today. And first of all is our Command 22 chief that's working today. We are one of the 24-hour command platforms that we have in the city is at my office, and begin with Chief Don Frazier, and also part of the command team there is Captain Geekus that head the Command 22. On the A platoon, we have Chief Cooper coming in, and also Chief Ernst is on the C platoon. And I just want to acknowledge Chief Frazier. He's rounding out 40 years here with the Los Angeles Fire Department, been a pillar in the department, and he's going to be finishing up in January. So again, congratulations, and thanks for all your help, Chief.
Congratulations, Chief.
Been great.
Used to be up here.
Also, part of our staff is our Captain 2 Training Support Specialist, Hector Hernandez. Our EMS Captain, Captain Dan Levens. And of course, as we all know, our most important people are civilian staff. Tiana Munoz, which is our Management 2, our annulus, good stuff. And our secretary could not be here today. She's shuttling her kids off to school today, so she's a little bit late in. But Christy Batania is also our secretary there, and also our new EMS educator that's not here yet. But again, those are the people that truly I was blessed with having some good people working with us and making the system work. So thank you very much for being here today. So that's that. I wanted to provide you guys a little bit more of a snapshot, too, of what's going on before we get into some of the goals that we're achieving. And again, like I've already said, our snapshot is of Los Angeles with OCB is basically battalions 1, 2, and 11 that encompass all of downtown L.A. and the east part of L.A. So that's where we kind of dwell in. And with that, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here, is basically the Central Bureau is densely populated, has every type of construction, potential incident threat, and we have everything except a harbor and an airport in our bureau. So there's a lot of things that are happening. This last week was a pretty good example. We had that major emergency structure fire. We had a crane rescue. We had a MCI. We had red line incidents that happen all the time with people down in the tunnels below. So there's a lot going on in the Central Bureau. So just want to share that with you. So another piece is, like I said before, a 24-hour assistant bureau commander, Command 22. We have an identical type thing in the Valley Command 42. But again, that 24-hour assistant bureau commander and the assistant chief command team brings extra command control and staff and organization, and most of all safety to escalating incidents at firefighter during incidents. So it's an important role that we have there, and they fill a really good role with that. Something else we also do in Central is we're responsible for citywide staffing, and basically we have to ensure that the optimum staffing deployment for the department is happening on a daily basis, especially on the weekends when critical staffing is happening. Over the past 3 years, we've had a lot of retirements, and there's a delicate balance between policy and making sure that we get things staffed the appropriate way and detailing people around. And it's a daily thing that we deal with, and our adjutant and our assistant chief deal with that on a daily basis. So they're always a one point of connection with the city with staffing on every day. Also, event planning. If you haven't noticed, in the downtown area, there is on any given day there are rallies, marches, events. Some are planned and some are spontaneous. And as Winston Churchill once said, failing to plan is planning to fail. Having these things that are popping up there are called the event action plans. And what that is a specific guide that has objectives with strategy and tactics that are required to meet those objectives. That plan is there so resources, when they show up or go to these incidents or they're briefed before, they know what their mission is, they know what the communication plan is, they know what they're supposed to be doing, and everybody participating knows exactly who to report to. Without having that plan in place for these events, like we have these concerts or big events out like in Grand Park, it doesn't set us up for a good operation, but this does, so everybody knows we're on the same page. And a lot of times if we have hot weather, alcohol, large crowds, that kind of puts a different spin on what we have to do, so that's why we have to implement these plans. We take these things very seriously, and that's why for almost every event that's over 5,000 people in the Central Bureau, we require one of these from the battalion chiefs and or the assistant bureau commander to make sure that we're all on the same page and know what we're doing so we're all safe. Okay, finally we'll get on to the how we're reaching the goals with the fire chief strategic plan and what strategies we're using to do it. And again, I can't take credit for everything. As part of the fire commissioners, you people here, the fire chief, labor organizations, and other command and support staff that help us get to achieving these goals. And I'm going to tell you a little bit how we do that. One of the big things I've got to bang my chest with is the restoration of Engine 209. It's a pretty big deal for us to have that. And start off with, this is going to be, I'm going to talk about Goal 1 for a little bit. We've managed to go to 4 specific areas within Goal 1, and one of the big things was the early response times, and that is the restoration of Engine 209. Over the past year, before in 2014, 2015, we analyzed data, metrics, figured out gaps. We talked about response strategies, evaluated resource needs, and especially in the District Fire Station 9. And through the Fire Stat Analysis Project, determining the need and identifying options, it led to the implementation and restaffing of Engine 209. It's made a tremendous difference in the quality of life for the firefighters and also the people in the Skid Row area, give them more effective services. Some of the other things with improving service delivery, and I'm not going to take credit for them, but these things that's such as like Dr. Eckstein has done and some other people have got these things. The FR201, taking some of the call load away from 9s. The sobering unit, the sobering centers are going to be having coming up very shortly. The TDS enhancements with our dispatch algorithms to take some of the load off and go into more important calls have really made a difference for the people in the Central Bureau and also in the Skid Row area. We take every opportunity to use these things and tell our people in our command that these are important things that are going to really help us out through the process of going on in the future. Also, with Go on improving the delivery of all EMS and all risk training is the establishment of some lessons learned approach that we have in the Bureau. And a lot of times we'll go to incidents, both fire and EMS, and there's a lesson that needs to be learned. And sometimes we get a little bit convoluted and waiting for policy to come out or training bulletins, but we take the opportunity to get our training support specialist or EMS captain out immediately to make sure that we're doing the right thing, get some training on so we all know we're doing the right thing. Also, with the newly appointed nurse educators, that's going to help us deliver our EMS delivery a lot better, too, with our paramedics. So we're always looking at new trends and things and making sure that we take care of things and educate our people. Also, our quarterly bureau training, too, helps us keep focused on firefighter safety. Also, with goal number 1, with improving our delivery to internal and external services, our CERT people. Over the last year, it was decentralized and reorganized them in all the geographic bureaus. With that, we have a civilian and uniformed CERT bureau commander to assist with the development of all of our CERT people in our bureau. I've provided my commander's intent and clear direction, expectations of what they do. We have bi-monthly meetings at all of our fire stations. They kind of move around the bureau and have their meetings there. We've also been able to have a CERT refresher class in 2015, and we're planning to have one in 2016 in September as well. We've also had a CERT auxiliary communication service drill in our bureau last year and planning to have another one. And we also utilized the CERT people for community fire patrols this last 4th of July to make sure the areas of Soto Hill and Elysian Park were kind of had a more presence for the fire department there, and I think that served to be very well and worked out very well. But we're really happy for our CERT people that we have. Recruitment, again with Goal 1 and also Goal 8, developing and retaining a professional and diverse workforce. We've had a pretty big hand in that along with Chief Welch with the 2 expos that we have. I think we've assisted with here at Frank Hodgkins. And also we do a quarterly scouring of our high schools, and we go over there, develop new information and drop off, make sure the principals and the counselors are aware that we have recruitment efforts going on. And I know it's not a big focus, and we've kind of gotten away from the high schools, but I truly think those young kids can also be impressionable. And again, some of the things that Chief Welch already talked about can be impressed on these kids that we go to. So we make a habit of doing that through all the high schools in our bureau. So it is kind of a big factor. Also, that goal number 1 is a cadet post. So we have, in our bureau, we have 3 fire stations that have very active cadet posts that are, again, this is our young, in my opinion, the future of the fire department. They've gone from the high school thing. They've gone to the things that are happening now with the other education programs, get involved in the cadet program, and hopefully become our next future firefighters. And it's, again, it gets these young people again in that mode of maybe coming out of their shell, learning how to be an adult, learning what a professional job can be, and kind of helping them out. And they may not all be firefighters, but it's going to get them to the next step, like we kind of already talked about. Kind of want to direct you to that black and white picture there. That picture is about 1985. That guy standing in the background there is a helicopter pilot, Scott Davidson. Behind him is Captain Jody Garfield. Sitting the guy in the foreground is Cameron Kress, and that funny guy with the haircut there in the right side is actually me when I was 15 years old at Fire Station 100. That kind of got me on my start, so I can tell you right now it's a really good program, so we need to keep that thing going. Still going with goal number 1, improving efforts to enhance prevention, preparedness, and recovery. And again, I got to apologize. I kind of talk a little fast. I'm just trying to get through this and make sure you understand where we're coming from and get you going. So please stop and tell me if I'm progressing too much here. MySafeLA, American Red Cross, and the Community Risk Reduction Unit. In collaboration with MySafeLA, Red Cross, FireStat, City Council Office, we conducted assessments and identified specific target hazards and preparedness and training within the Bureau. We analyzed data, and now we're educating the community on how we can target data and meet the community's needs. One thing is like FireStat or MySafeLA says is that, fire burns but smoke kills. We have had expanded our LAFD smoke alarm field education program and developed strong relationships with MySafeLA, American Red Cross, and we've been having canvassing events every quarter within the Bureau. Unfortunately, we've had to have 3 other events within our Bureau after fire fatalities, and I've got to tell you that MySafeLA has been a really good partner in assisting us with that and getting the word out. But these are very good things that we have on Saturdays and good canvassing programs and making people aware of what's going on with smoke detectors and also carbon monoxide alarms. And I strongly think that the reduction we had in 2015 down to 54% with going from 24 fatalities in 2014 to 11 fatalities is a testament to what all the bureaus are doing with the MySafeLA program and the canvassing events with American Red Cross as well. I think another part with providing exceptional public safety and emergency services, the annual inspection. The annual inspection is done. It's called annual inspection, but it's done every other year, and that's when the Bureau Commander goes out with the Assistant Bureau Commanders, and we check the operational readiness of all the fire stations, their equipment, the fire stations, their apparatus with a fine-tooth comb, and that's truly a chance for us to make sure things are running right, they're looking right, and we're doing the job we should be doing. And it's an integral part of all the 4 bureaus that we're doing now, and it's a really good program, and it's a chance for us to meet with the people one-on-one because we're quite busy, but when we get to sit down at the table, have a cup of coffee, and discuss the state of the department, it's a really good thing. So we've been doing that also in all 4 of the bureaus. And I think one of the biggest things that the 4 bureaus have done is the communications interactions that we never had before. Chief Rueda was one person, ESB or the EOPS was one person, how they could possibly get out and visit all the fire stations like we do on a continual basis. I think was pretty much impossible, but that's one of the things that we bring all the time now is getting out and doing things. One thing I like to say is just being there. I think even Chief Rueda said that. You're just being there, talking to people, meeting them, going to the events like you can see that we've been through a lot. It means a lot when somebody with a couple bugles on is there and listening and doing the actions that we do. So it's a good thing. I think one of the other things that I've brought as well is being at Fire Station 3, I'm connected to the fire station. It's housed right next to it. Hearing the bell go off, hearing the guys go on runs, being able to walk in the kitchen, talk to them, hearing what their state of the department is from their mind, being able for me to explain to them things, it's a really good transition, and I think that's good that we're connected over that way. It's one way I'm bridging the gap between the chief officers and also the silver badges, and I think it's really good. Finally, I think one of the last things of the goal 1 was our COOP plan, and we've never really had a COOP plan for, I know we have one for the department, but for the individual bureaus to have one established is a good thing. So if something does happen that we're knocked on our backs and we're not able to get up and running again, we developed our plan, we're about 75% done. So if there's any disruption within the bureau itself, we're able to have a plan, put it together, have a comm plan, have a facility we're going to go to get back on our feet so we can start serving the citizens again to make sure they depend on the things that they want. So that was pretty much goal one. Moving on to goal 5, and basically enhancing risk management systems. We cover 2 areas, and then we're trying to develop education and training to have better accountability for our people. And right now, all the OCB firefighters have been through firefighter survival training, both phases 1 and 2, and that's basically training them to be safe. If they come into a firefighter emergency or a Mayday event, they're able to save themselves, and that's a big thing. We have a very big burden on our shoulders as chief officers to make sure they get out and get the people they need to extricate them if need be, but they got to be able to save themselves as well. So this is a very good part that we've coupled with UFLAC and made this training happen for the next year, and it's a very good program. Also, one of the things you see up there is one of our simulation exercises that we're having with chief officers. We've made it a goal in our bureau to have chief officer training every quarter, and we call it a green cell training, which is basically a simulated exercise for chief officers that we have role players in another room playing firefighters, captains, and other people, and having an incident happen and for them to react to it and actually train. And it's like being in a video game and nobody gets hurt, nothing happens, and we all learn from it. It's a very good program that we have, and all the bureaus are actually doing that as well. One goal that we do focus on, though, is our Mayday situations. Every quarter, every chief officer and every assistant bureau commander goes through a Mayday operation to make sure that if we do have a firefighter emergency, we're up to speed on that. I truly feel that's the worst case scenario of something that could happen to us, and we want to make sure they're ready for it. So that's what we continue to train our people with. Also, in continuing to have risk management systems, is all the bureaus have assistant safety officers that have been trained up and report to risk management. All of our battalion chiefs in 2015 has been through safety officer training. So now when we go to our emergency incident, they're trained as a safety officer, so they know what to look out for and what to do in case there is a problem at an emergency, and they can correct it and let the IC know. And also risk management tracking systems that we have as well to make sure we're tracking trends and things that are happening within our bureau and around the department so that we can make sure we can correct these things if need be. So those are some things that we're doing there. Moving on to goal number 6, we've strengthened community relationship and improved infrastructure. I think it was last year, early 2015, we implemented our OCB Public Safety Advisory Committee that I head every quarter. The purpose is to get community members and stakeholders to discuss threats and vulnerabilities within the Bureau. In those meetings, we've talked about things like as far as preparedness, mitigation, response, and recovery after disasters. And some of the topics we covered in the last year was brush fire awareness, homeless population issues, terrorism, unfortunately, and earthquake preparedness. So it's been a very good program. And again, we do that every quarter, and we do that down in the emergency down at Fire Station 4. Also, we attend all of our neighborhood council and coalitions. Every battalion chief now attends those in the Bureau, and they bring information. Right now, our focus is on recruitment, obviously, and they answer any questions that need be if they happen to be on the agenda. Also, assistant Bureau commanders go to all the coalition meetings every quarter as well, so they have a stake in that as well. And lastly, this is communications in general. We've all learned that those meetings and contacts that we have before we have an emergency incident are really key, and our LAPD coordination and communication is really nice. It's really comfortable to walk up to an incident or a spontaneous event and have my LAPD counterpart being there and have the eye-to-eye first name basis recognition and be on the same page. And the same thing with our battalion chiefs. We're all familiar with the captains and their counterparts within their divisions as well. Partnerships, preparedness efforts, again, still we've collaborated with other institutions such as Cal State LA Union Station, the Los Angeles Dodgers, Glendale Fire Department to have active shooter exercises in the past year. We've had the El Nino workshops that obviously never materialized, but we had plenty of those. And also we sponsored a National Wildland Preparedness event in May of 2015 to get our people in the Elysian Park area and also the El Sereno area for the possible grass and brush fires for the following year. And finally, like I talked about before, the initial recovery procedures, and I actually, in meeting with the Bonnie Berry incident, the Central Bureau's developed a initial incident recovery program or package that's currently going through the fire department right now, and basically it's specific to each bureau, but it helps, again, get these people from the next phase of emergency incident to the phase of what they're going to next. And what we've done through in the past is we've had a fire like we had at Bonnie Beret, and then we have 40 people sitting out on the sidewalk, and we say, okay, well, Red Cross is going to be here in a couple hours. We'll see you later. We traditionally know Red Cross takes 4 to 6 hours to show up and actually get going. So what we've done is this program involves getting them into a fire station or facility, get them fed, get them hydrated, get them comfort until Red Cross gets there and gets them out. And we implemented the first time at Bonnie Bray, and we're optimistically hopeful that this program gets off the ground in all 4 bureaus, and I think it'd be a good program. So that's that. Okay, coming to home stretch here. Like we talked about already before, social media is a big deal in our strengthening our stakeholder partnerships, and it's truly a force multiplier in everything we do. We notice that in our social media and also our OCB newsletter, and it's a big deal as far as recruitments and everything. So it's since its implementation, we can see how important it is and how many people actually look at their social media and look and trend and do what we do. So finally, this all comes down to one thing. It's OCB incidents. You kind of saw some of them on the video montage and everything, but all this work with the strategic plan, all the goals and everything comes down to making our firefighters safe, delivering better services to the city of Los Angeles, and making people safer. And again, those are some of the incidents that we've had there, but it all comes down to when the bell rings, or people are ready, they're safe, they're trained, they get there fast, they work efficiently, and take care of business, and that's what it's all about. So finally, our future goals that we're looking at is meeting or exceeding the benchmarks of the Fire Chief Strategic Plan, continuing to assist the Fire Chief in restoration of Central Bureau resources based on performance metrics, and finally continuing to develop relationships with our city partner civic organizations through consistent engagement. And again, that engagement is the key for me to make sure that we're always talking. Okay, finally, the bottom line is that all 4 geographic bureaus are improving communications, relationships, and training, which is providing for better and safer service delivery to citizens of Los Angeles. And we're going to do that and continue to do on. And that's all I really have. I hope I didn't breeze through that too quick. I just want to give you a little flavor of how it all was. But are there any questions that I can answer at all, or anything that I need to elaborate on at all?
No, good job with the presentation. One of the questions I have is because of the density of this district, and also the increase in population growth in downtown, like what plans we have for sort of meeting the increased needs, including the homelessness, but also just new developments and new residents coming into downtown.
Yes, that's a good question. The homeless needs is a I want to say separate deal, but that's an ongoing concern that's being addressed right now, and we're working through that. The thing we noticed, and you can all see all the skyscrapers, or the cranes and all the construction downtown, is a significant population density increase. And we have talked to some of our neighborhood councils, some of our bids, and talking about how we're going to maybe get some funds put in the general fund, fire stations that we have that are older that need to be replaced, and how we're going to fund those things. And how we're going to have put metrics to look at over the next couple of years of how the call loads increasing. And through fire stuff already, we've noticed there's a corridor going from Fire Station 4, which is the Arts District, which goes through down the east side.
So much new development in the Arts District.
That's
so
correct.
Many new residents and businesses.
Yes, correct. Well, that district from 4s through Fire Station 11 down the the Pico Union and down to Fire Station 13, and the density, we noticed that through FireStat. So those are things that we're addressing right now that we're going to have to keep elaborating and collaborating with other city agencies to see how we can get funding for those type of things, and say, hey, if we have more incidents or more call loads are increasing, how we're going to maybe try to fund some more resources. So we are looking into that.
When those high rises are occupied, are the tenants given special instructions on what to do in an emergency? Do they have drills?
Yes, our Fire Prevention Bureau, depending on if it's a residential high rise and the size, Fire Prevention Bureau is charged with that. And kind of like a office building, they have floor wardens. If it's a residential, floor wardens that have monthly safety meetings. The management association is responsible with having monthly meetings, fire drills, and also briefings on how that stuff is. And if I remember correctly, too, they are also given a briefing when they move in, kind of like a welcome package. And with that welcome package has to do with emergencies as well.
Because I know coming down Main Street, I've watched the development, and there are like 3 or 4 huge projects there. One is almost finished. I'm amazed at that this morning. how do we get your newsletter?
The newsletter is sent via email, and
To the email list?
I will get you on the email list. We'll get
I
you.
like reading the newsletters.
Okay.
And thank you for the report. It was very inclusive, and you guys are very busy, as are most of the bureaus. And I think one of the best things that's happened out of the bureau operation is the community collaboration. And everywhere I go, people are always talking about who their fire people are and wanting to know, do I know them? So they know you by name.
Good. That's
Which
that's
is
our
easy to
goal.
do at meetings and so forth.
Good. Yeah, and that's, I mean, just that's always been when I made captain. That's like, I'm going to be in the community and going to these meetings, and we never had time for it. And now that with the bureaus and having the battalion chiefs go, they're there and they're consistently there, and it's again that face recognition. So, very good.
Chief Castro, did you want to add
a few
something?
things? Well, ultimately, the dilemma of the increased construction in several areas of the city will be addressed with the standards of cover survey that we do in terms of where we need additional fire resources. And I did want to acknowledge the efforts of Chief Legal. It's somewhat ironic he posted the picture of him as an explorer, because that's where I first met him about 30 years ago. I was an apparatus operator at Task Force 33, and this kid who wasn't even old enough to drive, his mother dropped him off, and he worked with us at 33s, and it was Phil. And I couldn't be prouder of his ascension to the rank of deputy chief. And while there's certainly a multitude of accomplishments that he has been the architect of over the last, and his team over the last 16 months, I think symbolically his success is framed somewhat in the incident that happened at Bonnie Bray, in that we had 41 people displaced. And in the old days, they would have sat in the sun until the Red Cross showed up 6 hours later. But Chief Legal had executed a plan that he had personally developed for nothing other than the welfare and the dignity of those people that were displaced. He had a bus that was all prearranged and taken care of prior to the incident, months prior to the incident. He took them to an air-conditioned fire station. He fed them, and the cost of the feeding was taken care of by a council person that he had a previous conversation and a previous agreement with. And I'll submit to you that the benefactors of his leadership and innovation and leaning forward were those 41 people that were treated in really a dark hour of their existence with the dignity and respect that they deserve. And I would submit a level that 10, 15 years ago, we didn't have that capability. And so I want to publicly commend you for that and thank you for your diligence.
And also good job in not losing any lives. I mean, it's almost unheard of with that kind of density and that kind of fire that, you didn't lose anybody. So
Yeah, there were actually people coming out of the structure when we first got on scene, and yes, there was good saves. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So that's 5F. We did have a public comment, but I don't believe he's here anymore. Mr. Bill Watkins? Nope. All right, so then we could adjourn. Do you have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.